Let's go to Exodus chapter 23. Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. If thou see the ass of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, and wouldest forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help with him. Let me read that again. If thou see the ass of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, and wouldest forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help him. So it's kind of like saying, seeing someone and you need help, but they won't help you. And later that same person asks if you could help them, help them anyways. Don't hold a grudge just because they did that to you. Basically, forgive them for it. Two wrongs don't make a right. It's that kind of thing. Let's move on to verse 6. Thou shalt not wrest the judgment of thy poor in his cause. Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. And thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise. It's hot in here. And perverteth the words of the righteous. Also thou shalt not oppress a stranger, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard and with thy oliveyard. 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee. In the time appointed of the month Abib, for in it thou camest out of Abib, for in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before the Lord God. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. The first of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. I guess, let me read verse 19 again. The first of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. I guess that's starting to go into where you can't eat meat with cheese, like a hamburger or something like that. It's kind of bad to eat it, but I mean, let's keep going. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies, and an adversary unto thine adversaries. For mine angel shall go before thee, and bring thee in unto the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. Thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works, but thou shalt utterly overthrow them, and quite break down their images. And ye shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. There shall nothing cast their young, nor be barren in thy land. The number of thy days I will fulfill. I will send my fear before thee, and will destroy all the people to whom thou shalt come, and I will make all thine enemies turn their backs unto thee. And I will send hornets before thee, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before thee. I will not drive them out from before thee in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against thee. By little and little I will drive them out from before thee, until thou increase and inherit the land. And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and thou shalt drive them out before thee. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. So, 27 through 31 is kind of like saying it's basically saying he's not a respecter of persons. It doesn't matter if you're like a black, white, Hispanic, or Asian. And there's a lot of people that use the Bible to like justify their hate against like certain races, but 27 to 31 is basically saying he's not a respecter of persons. And verse 23 as well. Let's keep going. Verse 32. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me. For if thou serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto thee. Okay, I'll give you my interpretation of the whole chapter. Verse 1 and 2 basically say, do not bear false witness. Oh man, it's on here. Verse 1 and 2 basically say, do not bear false witness. For example, if you see a fight go down and you don't know who swung first, you do not want to say Exhibit A swung in Exhibit B first if you only walked up in the middle of a confrontation. You know. Verse 4 and 5 basically talk about a loose animal. It relates to modern times, because if someone lost their dog and you saw where he went, and Exhibit A asks you if he went right or left, and you tell him the opposite, it's like, why not just tell me you won't tell me then? It would, okay, so if someone's dog got loose and the other person didn't tell you where the dog went, it's like, when I mean, if they tell you the dog went the other way than what in the direction he originally went, it's kind of like, why not just tell me you won't tell me then? You know, it would also be common courtesy to help Exhibit A look for the animal. Look for the animal, you know. Verse 10 through 12 and 14 through 18 is also something that I learned because I didn't know that you had to not tend to the farm for the 7th year. So I would assume you jar all the fruits and vegetables beforehand, and it's not like rotten fruits and veggies will make you all that sick anyways. Or, you know, just let the poor people eat off the land on the 7th year and just relax on the 7th year. I don't know if you could buy food from the store on the 7th year, but I mean, basically, it's basically saying on the 7th year, just like, leave it alone. You know, don't do anything with it. Just let the fruit drop on the ground. Perhaps the fruit rots away and it turns into like a way to make like wine or something. But I mean, no, alcohol is beyond me, so I don't know. Another thing I didn't know was that you have to keep a feast 3 times a year. Verse 13, 24, and 33 basically says that you shouldn't worship other gods. That's a no-brainer. But you also shouldn't even pretend to worship another god, even if you're just trying to be funny. Verse 22 and 28 through 32 is basically saying that if you do all that is right with God, then He will be enemies with your enemy. Say someone beats you up every day after school and then you eat good and work out. That is doing God's will, whether the bullied guy knows it or not. Then he comes back bigger and stronger and beats up the bully for his wrongdoing. He will even be an enemy to the wrongdoer of an original Hebrew if the guy from another nation serves God right from the circumcision of his heart. God is not a respecter of persons, like I said again. God is not a respecter of persons. Whether you're black, white, Hispanic, or Asian. And a lot of people like to use their race-based hate through the Bible, and that's not how you treat people. You don't say like, oh, you're going to hell because you're a certain color. No, God is not a respecter of persons. Let's see. Also, verse 19, which I recently just discovered, and I was left out of these. Out of my interpretation notes. But yeah, this one I recently discovered just now as I was reading this. Verse 19 in Exodus chapter 23. Okay. Exodus chapter 23, verse 19. I will read it. The first of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. So what I'm basically guessing this verse is saying, don't eat beef with cheese, don't eat chicken with cheese, and especially don't eat fish with cheese. And I can relate this to Islam because an Islamic brother from another place, like a restaurant, I was ordering fish with a fish sandwich with milk one time, and he said, don't eat the fish with the milk because the two bacterial components from each food will combine together and it will make you sick. And it makes sense because it does make you sick, pretty much. Anytime I eat anything with cheese, and especially fish with cheese, any type of meat with cheese, I get sick from it, or I don't feel well after it, or like super tired, you know. And this is why. This is in verse 19, and it's self-explanatory, and it's in real life experience too. Whether you're an atheist or a Muslim or a Hebrew, it says it right there. You can even experience it as a non-believer. It's right there in Exodus chapter 23, verse 19. Thank you very much, and have a great day. It sure has been hot. Thank you for chiming in. Be blessed and be safe.